Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, we got the nb4 and we got the latest firmware, now fully supports the Ibus 2 sensors, and we have the GPS one. So, quite a few people have asked, how does it work with nb4 and what's it do? So, I'll bring you in for a close-up look, I'll show you how we configure this, and what sort of displays and how useful it can be on the nb4. So, bring you in for a close-up look and see how we get on with this one. Right, so I'm going to start with a completely blank model memory, so this is fully reset. First thing we're going to want to do, because I'm going to be using the FGr8b, this could be the 4B, 8B, 12B, FTr12b, basically any of the enhanced receivers, including the gyro receiver, the nb4 GYB. Basically, you're looking for the new ports. They're the ones that are assignable to Ibus 2. So, if we go into his model, we can name it if we want. I'm not going to bother on this one. Channel number definitions I'm going to set to 8 because we've got a 12 channel receiver. But we can also use the extra Ibus 2 connectors above 8 channels without losing any channels. So, once we've set that, we're going to go into RX. We're going to go interface protocol, and if you look around the receiver itself, you can see that you've got A, B, C on the top, and that means channel 9 would be D. So we're going to go for new port A, which is channel 12, and I'm just going to set that to Ibus 2. Then we're going to come into bind, enhanced, steering as the start channel. So we're going to connect the GPS device to new port A, channel 12. Then let's make sure it's sat pretty flat. Then I'm just going to power it up with the bind button held down.
Binding successful.
So it's important to make sure that this GPS device is sat perfectly flat in your vehicle, or it's fastened where it's going to stay. Because the first thing we're going to want to do is go down to our Ibus setup. We're going to go into it. We're going to select as correct time zone for his GPS. Then we're going to calibrate it.
Calibration successful.
Basically, this is telling it where its flat sort of plane is, and that the vehicle is sat perfectly flat at this point. You can display your GPS information, and this will slowly start to populate. Obviously, we're indoors at minute, so it's going to be little to no GPS. Then, if we come out of this, so we can see on his sensors, if we select this and go choose sensor, then we can come in and we can select our sensor and then scroll down and you'll see GPS. So we can decide what we want up here. So if we want GPS speed, we can leave one on that. And then we get as GPS speed. You can also go in, choose sensor, choose the one you want to change. And then we can go back down to GPS and you've got distance. Now distance will only read the distance from the start point. So it's kind of how drones and everything work. So if you're driving in a straight line away from it, you're going to read the distance accurately. It won't record the distance as your vehicle goes round and round a track. You've got height, you've got altitude, you've got acceleration, and then you've got pitch and roll, point or altitude, or it'll show you altitude from the point you zeroed it. But basically you can have multiple things on there. Then if we go down to here, rather than as race timer, you've got GPS time. So when it gets a GPS lock, it'll actually show you the time of day there, so you can have a proper time of day readout on your controller. Few other things that we can do that might be useful. So if we come to here and you go into system, quick access, and then you can have swipe up and you can change this one. So if we scroll down, you've got the GPS set screen, you've got GPS display. So if we put it on that, and then when you swipe up, you've got your compass bearing, and might be quite useful for rock crawlers. You've got your actual pitch and roll. So you can have that on your screen all the time as a quick link, and then just press button to get back to this screen where you've got your speed and everything else. And if you do want to see it again, just swipe up front bottom and you get your compass bearing and your pitch and roll. I think that could be quite useful for the likes of rock crawlers. You can set your maximum angle. Now, the other thing we can do to make this a bit more useful, so we can go into our sensors, we can go display sensors, we'll see everything. You can go choose sensor, we can go into speed sensor, and we can set an alarm. So we can set a high alarm. So if you wanted to trigger it at say 30 mile an hour, 50 mile an hour or whatever, you can actually have the alarm set and it'll go off at that point, so you know you've hit that speed. Unlike the Pro, the nb4 doesn't have the ability to record the data. So you could record the screen, or you can set an alarm that will trigger when it hits that point. You can also go in, so if we wanted to go to GPS and then your pitch or roll, so you could go in there and you can set two values. So you can have it so when it goes over a certain degrees, it'll alarm. So if you know what angle your actual RC tips over at, you can set yourself a high and low, so it will do minus degrees and positive degrees. So you can have a different alarm value set, so you can have an audible warning before your vehicle actually tips over. Could also be quite useful in rock crawling, and you can do the same for the roll as well. So if we go into GPS and you go to roll, you can also have an alarm for when your vehicle's tipping sideways. Which could come in quite useful. If we flick it back onto this screen, you'll see what I mean. So as soon as the vehicle starts getting to the point where you know it's going to tip, you get an alarm, and then when you work your way back under it, the alarm stops. So it is quite sensitive. See if I can do it slowly. Yep, as soon as it gets to 31 degrees, it'll alarm. As soon as it drops back under, it won't. So, as I say, with rock crawling, that could be quite useful. Speed running, you can set your an alarm so it trips at 50 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour, whatever speed. Let's have a quick look and see what it can set its maximum speed to. So yep, you're good at setting an alarm all the way up to 300 mile an hour. I think the current world record's just been set at about 216 by the guys with the Scorch Parts car. I think it was 216 verified and 219 GPS, which is one hell of an achievement for an RC car. So yeah, big shout out to them guys. But yeah, 300 mile an hour it'll go up to. Be very surprised if we see an RC car within the near future topping 300 mile an hour. I think we'll be getting more to be more like an aeroplane at that point. But yeah, just a whole bunch of options that you can use on the nb4 now. The alarms going to be quite useful on something like this, where basically you can watch your actual RC, especially a crawler, see at what point it tips over, and then you know at what point you need to set your alarm just before that, so you know you're not going to be rolling your car when you don't want to be. And certainly for testing speed runs, being able to set an alarm and get it trigger at the actual point where you hit the speed that you're aiming at could be quite useful. As I say, all you need is an enhanced receiver. The Ibus 2 sensors work fully now with the nb4. But that just about covers the basics. So you can actually go into the settings and you can change your temperature, Celsius and Fahrenheit, and you can change your speed from kilometers an hour to miles an hour. If you change it on here, it will change it on the GPS settings for you. But that just about covers it all. So let's wrap this one up. So there you have it. The GPS device, Ibus 2 device, sorry, connected to the nb4. And all you've got to remember, if you're going to use any of these Ibus 2 sensors or likes of the Ibus 2 breakout or anything like that, you can use the INR4 GYB, you can use the FGr4b, FGr8b, FGr12b, you can use the FTR, the flight twin antenna ones, 12b, 8b, not sure if they do a 4b, I think they do. But basically it has to be one of the enhanced receivers with the new ports on. And you can see that from the receivers. The FGR range is all yellow, the INR's purple, and I think the FT range is all orange. FTRB, I think they're all orange. But basically on the instructions of them they said new port. And if you look at the picture on the top, so you'll see these little things. I know it's hard to see from here, but you'll see it when I've done the video. Basically, they say NP, A, B, C, and D. So as long as it's got one of them, you can assign it to Ibus 2, and you can use all your Ibus 2 sensors. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and I'll catch you guys again in the next one.